Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, I'm going to do something a little different. It occurred to me that maybe I could do something that would talk about the footprint or the shape of the collection, the library of the various publishers. So I picked the 6 that I think have the, let's say, biggest footprint. Now you can argue a little bit along the edges, but I think that at least the top 2, 3, or 4 are pretty obvious. You can debate the other 2, maybe. But in general, I'm going to look at the data, so the numbers. Using Boardgame Geek, I know not everybody loves Boardgame Geek, but it is a good place where game players who play the game will post their thoughts. They rate the games. Boardgame Geek has its own geek rating, which kind of tries to ameliorate the problem caused by small sample size. I'll try not to get too deep into the math behind some of this stuff, because not everybody wants to hear formulas and things like that. But in general, that's what I use to kind of generate this. So there will be a ranking. I'm going to use my top 6 format, 6-sided dice, 6 sides on a hexagon. So this is going to be a look at 6 of the top war game companies in terms of board war games. So we're going to get underway right now, and we're going to start with number 6 and count down to number 1. Before we get into the countdown, here are 3 quick terms you'll need to know. Number 1, complexity or weight. Rated 1 to 5, this is the scale used on BGG, and this is what you can maybe think of as your brain burn factor. How difficult is the game to grok or understand? Number 2, the geek rating. So this is BGG's anti-hype metric that I mentioned earlier. It uses a Bayesian average, which is basically a statistical anchor, to make sure that a game with only 10 fans doesn't beat a game with 10,000 fans. So it looks at the fans' ratings and weighs them appropriately. Then we have number 3 is our hype gap. So this is the distance between what the fans say, our average rating, and what the system says, our geek rating. A high gap means a publisher is full of hidden gems. I want to say let's get the countdown started, but I don't really see this as a countdown. We're looking at the 6 biggest footprints, I guess. So we're going to start at number 6 and head towards number 1. You probably can guess which company is number 1, but we'll get there in a moment. So starting with 6, we have Worthington Publishing, and we can call this the Gateway Modernist. Statistically, they are the lightest of the big 6, with an average complexity of just 2.58. So that's pretty medium, right? But don't mistake light for bad. They hold a 7.62 average rating, which is very strong. So Worthington's shape is kind of a sharp and narrow needle. They know exactly what they are, the kings of the 90-minute war game. So looking at the deeper math, we have a hype gap of 1.10, which means that they are often overlooked by the hardcore crowd. As you might expect, hardcore fans want hardcore games. But their production quality and speed to table make them the perfect side 6 for our look at the big 6. At number 5, we have the tactical specialist, Lock and Load. If Worthington is the gateway, Lock and Load is the laser focus specialist. Their statistical shape is the most efficient on our list. They have a 7.58 rating at a very manageable 3.40 complexity. The twist is that they have the highest hype gap at 1.2. Mathematically, Lock and Load is the most underrated publisher in the big 6. Their fans are incredibly loyal, but because they focus on specific tactical systems, they don't always get the mainstream votes to close that hype gap. At number 4, we have our wild card, Decision Games. Their math is, to be honest, kind of a mess, but it's a fascinating one. They have the highest complexity variance on the list. Why? Because they publish everything. With over 600 titles, they range from 1.0 complexity folio games to nearly 5.0 complexity monsters. Their average rating is the lowest at 6.78, but that's a volume tax. They are the archivist of the hobby. If you want a game on an obscure 18th century skirmish, Decision probably has it. You just have to be prepared for the statistical gamble. Their library is massive. They do own SPI's library, and so They do a lot of reprints and things. And as you can see here in my sample of 4 games, they publish a variety of things. This, of course, was a reprint of an old quad from SPI. Here we have D-Day at Tarawa, which is a John Butterfield designed solitaire classic. World War I Deluxe Edition, also from an adaptation of a magazine game. And then the massive monster game Axis Empires. At number 3, we have Compass Games, the modern workhorse. So this is kind of the sweet spot, Compass Games. Compass is the true north, pun intended, of the hobby. Their complexity average of 3.54 is almost exactly the median for a serious wargamer. They are remarkably consistent. Their statistical curve is a perfect bell curve. They don't do too much that's too light or too heavy. They are truly a workhorse, providing a massive array of topics with a predictable level of depth. And you can see here, we've got kind of a smorgasbord of these. This is from my collection, of course, of games. This is one of your more complex offerings, as is the Battle for Germany. Then you have things that kind of fall a little bit less complex. Night Fighter Ace, an example of the many games they've published from Gregory M. Smith. Solitaire games, excellent games. Fall Blau, of course, a massive semi-monster game. And then The Lamps Are Going Out, which is an excellent World War I game. Their library is massive as well. They publish a lot of games every year, and they are truly the workhorse of the hobby. Next up, we're getting into the heavier side now. Number 2 is MMP, Multiman Publishing. They hold the highest average rating of all 6 at 8.12, means players who play their games love them, and also the highest complexity at 3.8. This is the true hardcore wargamers gold mine, so to speak. And if you look at their shape, it's bimodal. They have 2 peaks. One is the lifestyle game peak, largely due to Advanced Squad Leader and Operational Combat series. And the other is the starter peak, which would be something like the SCS series, Standard Combat series. There's almost no middle ground. You're either a casual visitor or you're moving in for life. They don't have the volume of, say, GMT, but for the games they do have, the community consensus is clear. They are the gold standard for depth. Here we have a little bit of a smorgasbord of things from my library. Here we have an SCS game, Ardennes 2, Battle of the Bulge, Standard Combat series, right? Because they picked up or merged with the Gamers, Dean Essig's company, the late great Dean Essig. Then we have the base volume for Advanced Squad Leader here, Beyond Valor. We have one of the Civil War, great campaigns of the American Civil War series, on to Richmond 2. We have the Operational Combat series guide, that includes Sicily 2. Inflection Point is Battalion Combat series, and then we have one of their international games, which is Warriors of Japan. And finally, at number 1, and probably a surprise to no one, is GMT Games. Now, the math for GMT is almost impossible, and I would call them the industrial titan of tabletop board war games. They've published over 1,100 titles while maintaining a staggering 7.92 average rating. They have the lowest hype gap at 0.64, which means the geek rating actually trusts them. GMT is the only wargame publisher that has successfully crossed over into the mainstream board game consciousness. Their shape is a high flat plateau. Whether it's a card-driven game or a hex encounter classic, you know exactly the level of quality and crunch you're getting. Just looking at this small sample of my GMT collection, I have a ton of their games. We've got something from the Great Battles of History, which of course was designed by Mark Herman and Richard Berg, with the Great Battles of Julius Caesar. Cuba Libre, one of the coin games created by Volko Runka. In a similar vein, you have Nevsky here, also a Volko Runka Levy and Campaign series kickoff volume. We have the very well-regarded game Paths of Glory from Ted Racer and Mark Herman's Empire of the Sun, as well as Chad Jensen's Combat Commander. So as you can see, the designers that work with GMT, many of them are big names in the industry, and they have churned out some fantastic games. And you can always count on, at the very least, great components and well-designed games from GMT. So let's go to the conclusion here. So what does the math of war tell us? If you want efficiency, go with Lock and Load. If you want prestige and crunch, go with MMP. If you like variety, Decision will have you covered for sure. I would also say the same for Compass games. Compass covers a variety of subjects. If you want reliability, you go GMT, because as I just mentioned, they are consistently well designed with fantastic components. So the beauty of our hobby is that it isn't just one game, it's an ecosystem. Every side of our hex serves a purpose. So now let's talk about what, feedback you can provide. What is the statistical shape that you prefer? Or if you just want to keep it simple, you could just say which of these companies maybe you find to be your sweet spot. But are you kind of a high plateau GMT player or a narrow peak Worthington fan? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to roll for initiative and hit that subscribe button. I'd also appreciate likes, shares, hypes, etc. Also, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my channel members, as I always do. Thank you very much for your support. It is greatly appreciated. I will see you on the next Hex. I'm Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. And as always, happy gaming.